Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 164.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? Entrepreneur Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Katherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Guess who? Mary Katherine Johnson here, and I have a very dear friend of mine. She is coming back to the show for the third time, the only person in the history of Parent Entrepreneur Power to visit the show a third time, and I know this will not be the last. So hang on tight for Lou Kayser. Hey there, Lou. How you doing?
I am doing great, Mary Katherine. Thanks so much for bringing me back. I love it.
Oh, well, we have a mutual reason for this, and Power Parents, listen up. Mary Lou and I have a mastermind that we do every week. It started way back when I first heard her on Entrepreneur on Fire, probably coming on to 2 years ago now, and reached out to get her on my show, and we just connected and developed a friendship and a mastermind together. And the two of us, when we came together recently on our mastermind call, were both struggling with different ends of a process. And she had the beginning part of this process, and I had the end of this process, and we brought it together and blew up our businesses together, our respective businesses. And we said, oh my gosh, we've got to share this because I don't think very many people are using these tools as effectively as we just did. And just to give you a hint, two things. Number one, the two of us brought into our businesses within a 2-week period. By using these tools we're going to outline for you right now on this show, we brought in over $10,000 in 2 weeks between the two of us, just by doing these things. Okay, so that's number one. If I didn't whet your appetite to listen up, I don't know what else will. But the second thing to whet your appetite to listen up is you can download a cheat sheet for this exact episode and everything we are talking about if you go to parententrepreneurssuccess.com/PEP 164. And that will bring you right into be able to get that cheat sheet. All right. So those mechanics out of the way, those little details out of the way, and let's just dive into exactly what we did. So first, what we did was we came together and talked about what we possibly were struggling with in our businesses. And Mary Lou does amazing things for her clients, and I'll let her talk about that in a second. But we looked at our current network of people, and we looked at our business and said, you know what? We've invested in a lot of people and a lot of relationships, and most of those people don't really know exactly what we do. So, Mary Lou, what did you do with that information? What's the first step you took once you realized that?
Well, first of all, I just want to backtrack one thing. Talking about our networks, there's an old saying that says your net worth is in your network. And how often do we go around thinking we have to constantly be adding more people, new people, right? But the truth of the matter is, we already have right at our fingertips a network that is just full of amazing people who all have problems. Now, can our respective businesses solve every person's problem? Of course not. But unless you ask, unless we take the time to really sit down and think about who do I already know, then we just continue on that same path of trying to drum up new business, air quote, right? Mm-hmm. So that leads me to answer your question, Mary Katherine, which is you've got to take some time first to review the people you already know in your network. So you could do this by looking at, for example, your Facebook friends. You can take a look at your LinkedIn connections. You can take a look at your Twitter followers. I know several people just in the last month have told me either on my own podcast or just in conversations face to face that Twitter is a great tool for connecting with movers and shakers and influencers and people who can either buy from you or know someone who might want to buy from you. So sitting down and really reviewing all those names in your network now, that's the very first step. That's step 1B after 1A, which is recognize and accept that you already have an amazing network. That's so important. And we do forget it because we're living in a time where we're constantly bombarded with the shiny new penny, the shiny new tool that the tool du jour, right? That we open up our email or we get onto our Facebook feed or we go somewhere online and there it is staring us in the face, promising nirvana, business nirvana, that this is the holy grail, folks. If you just use this one system, this one tool, whatever it may be, all your prayers will be answered and you can just skip off into la la land forever and always, right? But again,
it's so frustrating.
It is. And I have drunk that Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
I have, I'm here raising my hand saying guilty as charged.
Mm-hmm.
I've fallen into the trap of thinking there's just that one next thing that I could add to my toolbox rather than stepping back and looking at the tools I already have and saying, wow, I haven't picked up this hammer in a while. And I've been, trying to nail a nail with a ballpoint pen. It's not working.
Right.
And I've totally mixed my metaphors, but that's okay.
We all know exactly what you're talking about because we know all of those metaphors and we've all drunk that Kool-Aid. Oh my gosh. Okay. So review the people in your network. First, go look at all of your places that you connect with people. And please, you must understand, this is not just spamming people, not just going to Twitter and Facebook and just start sending out stuff. This is relationships. This is based on relationships and the people you know or have connected with that you connect with. Not just a name in your Facebook feed, but someone you've actually connected with. Right, Mary Lou? This is relationships.
Absolutely, because the key to when a sales transaction happens, when somebody's willing to part money, their hard-earned money with you, your products, your services, there has to be that know, like, and trust factor, that KLT factor. And that is based on a genuine, authentic relationship, not just a blanket spam of, hey, I've got this great thing. Think about how you feel when that happens to you. I know it annoys me to no end when I get a little alert on my phone that said, there's from a messenger on Facebook, and it's somebody who I can tell has just copy and pasted a templated message that, and here's the clue for me, Mary Katherine. You and I get this because we're a double name. You are Mary Katherine, I'm Mary Lou. If someone reaches out to me, Dear Mary, I immediately know they have not taken any time. I don't know them or they're not respecting me. My name is Mary Lou. I'm not Mary. And so, yes, you want to approach the people that you already have a high level of relationship with. And we're going to get to this in a minute, but I'm just going to do a little preview. What you send must be tailored specifically to them.
Right. Definitely. And that's a great little teaser because that's coming up. Okay. So we review the people in our network. They don't live with us, so they probably don't know exactly what we're up to. But they're in our world. They know about us. We are not a stranger. They're not going to get some email or message from us and have no clue who we are. Okay, so then what's the next thing we do? Once we have looked at our group and we see those people, what do we do with them?
Okay, so the next step is what I like to do, and you can do it one of two ways. You can either open up a Google Doc or your favorite word processing program, Excel, works for some people, or you can do it the old-fashioned way with pen and paper or on a whiteboard if you have a whiteboard in your office. And you want to start grouping these people that you know based on how matched they are to your current offerings and goals. So, for instance, one of my service offerings is ghostwriting. That's a high level service. It's a pretty small pool of people. And so when I look at the folks that I've identified as potential connections for that, I categorize them in columns. So I have my ghostwriting vertical. I also do copywriting and for web and brochures or ebooks, things like a lead magnet. And so I might put a name in a couple of categories or just one. But I have to think about what is it that I do and who might this best serve, or if I have a sense that they themselves may not be exactly right for what I'm offering, they might know somebody in their network. And again, we're going to get to that in a minute, but it's just that physical process of thinking through these names. So they're not just a big list of names and it's overwhelming. It's an active process of, okay, so I've got Jill, I've got Jody, I've got Tom, I've got Rich, et cetera, and so forth. And based on what I know about what they're doing, I will categorize them to match what it is I offer. Does that make sense, Mary Katherine?
Yes. And how do you know? Based on just their profiles or what they've been posting? I mean, it doesn't mean that we actually personally talk to these people on a daily basis. These are people that are on our periphery, that we share their posts or we engage with them on social media or something like that. So how do we know which category they might fit into based on our services? Or they might know someone.
Well, it's what you just said. It's partly intuition. It's partly paying attention, taking some time to go in and look at their LinkedIn profile, read where are they currently working, see what they are posting. Typically, I'm not going to reach out to people who aren't actively using social media because that is the way of the world today. So that alone, yes, I have people in my life who are offline. My brother is a great example. He doesn't own a computer. He was reluctant to get a smartphone. He uses it solely for phone calls and texting, and that's it. I don't even think he knows how to log on to a computer, quite frankly. So would I send him something related to my services? Maybe, but he would be farther down the chain because I know I'm looking for people who meet certain criteria. Number one, they are actively engaging in this new ecosystem called the internet, and they're doing it at a level that shows me they understand that it is important for their personal brand, for furthering their mission and vision, whether they work for a company or they work for themselves. So again, there's a research piece to this, and yes, it takes an investment of time, but it doesn't need to be a lot of time. For example, what I do is I'll set my timer on my phone for 25 minutes. And I tell myself, okay, I'm going to spend 25 minutes looking at my connections on LinkedIn. And once that timer's up, I'm done. So it's just a very strategic process of going through the names and then quickly looking. Then I pull out those names, put them on the list, and then I can go back at another time with another set of 25 minutes and really see if there's trigger words, if there's something that's going on in their company, because then that gives me a connection or a way to enter a new conversation with this person, which is so important.
Perfect. Yes. So obviously you're showing this isn't just a checklist of names. This is very specific. You're looking for that golden nugget. That's it. You're looking for the person in your network that actually needs what you have or might know someone who needs what you have. And that's not just sending out, like you said, a blanket message, a spammy message, fishing for people, hoping someone comes up to your hook and bites. This is very strategic and specifically relationship oriented. You get to know these people. You're making an investment. You've made an investment to get them into your world. Now take the next step. Yes, exactly.
That's
All
right.
So once you've got that list, what do you do?
So now, for me, this is the fun part. So once we have the list, what I do is I think about, here's where that conversation comes in. So for example, say you were somebody that I was going to reach out to, Mary Katherine. I would have gone to your Facebook, to your Twitter, and I would have seen that you're really involved with Parent Entrepreneur Power podcast, that you've got a couple of other things going on that are exciting to you. I also know you're an active mom and all those things. So now I think about crafting a brief but powerful message, which I use the subject line for this message, professional update. That's it, just professional update. And then in it, I'll say, Dear Mary Katherine, I'll make that first sentence or two is a direct connection to something in your world. It might be, hey, congratulations, Mary Katherine. I just noticed on Facebook that you've hit your 150th episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power, or you just had looks like you had a great time when you went to Italy. Something that's personal, that's connected to their world. And then I go right to the reason I'm writing. Mm-hmm. So I'll write something like the purpose, or I'm reaching out to you today for a very specific reason. I wanted to let you know that I am currently, and then describe what I'm doing. And follow that with, I am looking to either, who do you know that could use a service like this? It's a direct ask without saying, hey, you should write a book, or, hey, you should really update your website. It looks like it was built in 1995. I mean, whatever it is, right? I mean,
I get those every day.
Oh my gosh. I know. The web, unfortunately, it's too bad, because web design and web development are such amazing arts and crafts for the people who really treat them as a business. And then, of course, there's all the bottom feeders that we get those
oh my
spammy.
Gosh.
I get
all the
one
time.
almost every day from other countries where the English is broken, and they're promising me the moon, and it's like, delete.
SEO.
So,
the latest is SEO stuff. They all want to just optimize my site so much. And they start out with exactly what you said. I noticed that you're not as high in the search rankings as you could be for your keywords. It's like, dude, do you really think that's going to get me interested in what you have to say?
I know. So again, the point of this next step in this process is you're writing a personalized message with a very specific topic, which is to give this person a professional update. What are you up to? And then you can tell a brief story about your most recent project, or a project that you completed within the last year that's connected to what you do. And I have found that by talking about the outcome of that work, so for example, from June of 2015 to January of this year, I was working with a client to plan, write, and launch her book. That was an 18-month process that started with one service that morphed into a second, that morphed into a third. And in my letter to potential people, or to people in my network who I think could be a good connector for me, I tell them, for the last 18 months, I was working with, and I described the project briefly. Who do you know that this might be a good fit for, or something to that level? And then I bring it to a close, and I reiterate my gratitude to them for, listening to me basically, and maybe a reference back to the original opening line, like, their trip, or again, congratulations on, and so forth. So it's really about 3 to 4 short paragraphs, and then you sign, warmly, warm regards, so forth and then your name, and then just send. Right. And again, it's not a spam. It does take time. What I did was back in January, because my project had ended, I was in that natural lull period that happens when you come out of a huge project. Right. I took a week, and I carved out within that week on my calendar little chunks of time to do this very specifically. And as you said at the beginning of the show today, Mary Katherine, that resulted for me in closing over $5,000 in new business within less than a week of sending out that letter. So do you want me to share my numbers at this point?
Please.
Okay. So what I did was I had my first grouping of 20 names, and I sent a personalized message to each one with that professional update. Out of those 20, 7 people responded immediately, meaning they acknowledged they received my email. One of them actually reached out to me via Facebook and said, I want to write a book. I've been wanting to write a book for 8 years. Let's talk about what that might look like. So there it was. And that's the person I was able to lead into seeing why working with me made sense. And then I was able to close that sale.
Yes, it's really, it's incredible. And you can go back and continue doing this. So I liken it to, okay, luckily I live in the gold rush area. Okay. I live in actually near where gold was first discovered in California. And so I liken it to the difference between a gold miner who specifically works a claim and finds a vein, and some of the later ways of finding gold, which was basically hydro mining. So they basically just took huge powered water hoses and just decimated the side of the river and made huge piles of rocks. So they were just shooting out anything to try and find the gold. And so we're looking at 2 different ways. That the old way we were talking about, that we all drank the Kool-Aid, is just put something out online and spam people and hope somebody buys. That's the hydro mining, right? Just spraying the whole side of the river. And we've got piles and piles of rocks here in the area near the American River, where that's exactly what they did. They just piled the rocks up on the side and just kept blasting the side of the river. And we have the gold miner, who is looking for a vein, who is actually patiently going in and finding it. And yes, those 2 things, one might be a bit faster, but you've got to have a huge amount of people that you just blast it to and hope somebody sticks. Or do you really want to develop relationships and work with people and grow your business the way all businesses have been grown since the dawn of time? Right?
Right. In our high-tech, fast-paced world, we are so impatient. We just want things to happen at the snap of a finger or the click of a mouse. And the fact is, it doesn't work like that. Life is still life. Nature is still nature. And business gets done the old-fashioned way. We can all use these amazing tools. Email, for example, that now gets a bad rap because we're inundated with messages all the time. And yet, think about it. 20 years ago, it was 1997, and email was just coming on. And I remember I resisted email at first. I was teaching in the high school at the time, and our school had, one of these long, it was your name followed by the name of the school followed by k12.or.us.edu. I mean, it was this ridiculously long thing. And I've always been a letter writer, and I thought, oh my gosh, now how many of us actually sit down and handwrite letters? We don't. And even a company called Send Out Cards makes it so you don't even have to. You're right. You just have to type something and it's sent. So
yes,
it's just the way it's evolution and so forth.
Yes.
So, but it still matters.
Yes.
It still matters to take the time to craft a personalized message where you are presenting an honest situation about you as a means of letting people know, hey, this is what I'm doing now. And who do you know that might need or want to at least have a conversation about what this could look like for them? Because we're not a good fit for everybody. That's the other piece is I sent out 20, I got 7 responses, and out of that converted 1. So some people would say, wow, is it really worth it? Absolutely it is.
How many people?
Absolutely.
So you're talking, that's, what is that? What's the percentage? And my mind isn't going to be able to go very fast. It's what? 1%, 0.5% out of 20 people total. And you sold 1. That's a conversion to a sale. But the 7 was what? 3.5% that actually responded, right? And then out of the 7, 1, you've got higher than 10% that bought, that you actually spoke to, that you actually connected with. So look at those numbers. Anybody in their right mind would love that kind of conversion because you keep going. So you have 20, now let's get to 200. And then those numbers increase exponentially. So they increase incrementally. So yeah, and my point of the bringing up the gold miner was really to say, you can go back to this gold mine because your network changes and grows. And some of the people may not have been able to talk to you at that time or didn't need it at that time, but they may later. So this is your gold mine. You can go back to it and continue to update and craft emails and messages and connect with people. It doesn't mean just because they don't respond now, they don't know someone in the future or won't respond in the future. That's it. Instead of moving on to blast another side of a river, just cultivate the mind you already have and continue to grow it. That's what I was thinking of. So basically, all right, you get this person and they say, you know what, I might be interested in this. All right, most people that I talk to, that's the place they're going to freeze. Okay.
Yep.
Because all the other stuff was just me behind my computer, just contemplating that this might happen. Now I actually have to talk to somebody. Uh-oh. What am I going to do? How am I going to do that? And a lot of us have a difficult time with that and feel either that we're too salesy or sleazy or don't really know what to say. So now we talk to that person and they responded to you. And basically the first thing you said was, let's jump on a call and talk about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so
because, and let me explain why, because again, you're absolutely right, Mary Katherine, this is the point where so many people freeze. And that could be a podcast topic all in itself, because there's a psychology behind words like too salesy. Where does that come from? Right. What is our perception of sales? You used the word sleazy. Sales, the only way money moves, the only way money can move is through a transaction called sales. Right. So, I mean, think about it. We all go out and we happily swipe our credit cards through machines all day long, all over the place, at Safeway, at Starbucks, at Nordstrom, at the gas station. We are willingly, that's a sale, point of sale, POS, point of sale. And yet when it comes time where the spotlight is reversed and it's on us, what is it? Why? It's like we think we're trying to get something, and nothing could be further from the truth. The thing is that if we have something of value, like gasoline for a car, or food for the table, or clothing for your body, or a roof over your head, why can't our services be along those same lines? We're solving problems, we're adding value. So we've got to change our mindset around selling in general. It's not the sleaze. It's not. It's a value exchange. And that's why the conversation is so important, because I can't just here's what most people do. The one of two things: they either freeze up and the process stops there and nothing happens, or they think, oh, good, this person is ready to buy, and they jump the gun.
Right.
And they just shoot back. Well, this is what it would look like, but blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Without doing this very next critical step, which is to have a conversation to get a better idea of what this person's pain is, what this person's problem is, and then put it into the context of what you offer. Because just because someone expresses an interest doesn't necessarily mean they are a good fit for what you offer. And you're not going to know that until you actually have a conversation.
That is exactly right. And I'm going to talk about this now, and I'm going to basically share with you a mistake I made. Exactly what you were just talking about, a very big mistake I made, and that made me feel horrible, and that made me backpedal completely and look at this process and go, okay, Mary, you were a little too excited there. So let's just calm down. But that you need to do it. And the way that I get myself on a conversation with people is not to say, oh, great, this is a person that's going to buy from me. Or, oh, great, I'm going to try this, but oh man, I hope I don't come off salesy. I look at a conversation with someone as an opportunity to find out if what I have fits for them. And I have absolutely no expectation when I talk to them as to whether this is right for them or not. I look at it as an experiment completely. That's it. Not as an expectation. And if you come in with an expectation, you're going to go down a wrong path and it's going to be difficult. So that's the first thing. You just say, hey, wow, that's amazing. Obviously, this is a pretty big process of writing a book. Let's just take that one. Let's jump on a call and chat about how it might work and if it's something that I can do for you. Done.
Exactly.
That's it. And so then you set a time and you get them on Skype or an actual physical phone call, whatever. What typically do you use?
I typically use, well, I don't. It's really a mix. It could be just via phone or it could be over Skype because I do have Skype on my phone. And there are people who prefer Skype for various reasons, but it needs to be a phone call. It can't be texting back and forth.
Right.
It needs to be an actual phone call. Or if they happen to live nearby, I might set up a coffee, a face-to-face, because the power is in the proximity, which is why either a phone conversation or a face-to-face meeting can really help solidify the value that you bring. And even if they themselves turn out not to be a good fit, they might have someone in mind that they can now connect you to.
Exactly. And there's just something about looking in someone's eyes that just makes a huge connection. And I can't provide services to someone I've never seen. So Skype is my preferred method. So I set up a time to say, hey, let's chat. And we get on Skype. Actually, I'll take that back. The majority of the sales that I've done through this process have actually been on Facebook. And I've done Facebook video chats. And that's where they've happened rather than on Skype. But it's still the same process. I'm actually looking at them and talking to them at the same time. So then you get them on a call and you get through the pleasantries, regular pleasantries. How you doing? What are you doing? One of the calls I did, the gal was actually on a treadmill exercising at the time because her kids were in the play area. And so you talk to them about what's going on in their lives and what the weather's like and all the normal pleasantries. And then you get down to business and you say, so you want to write a book. Okay, that's what Mary Lou's was. Mine specifically, if I want to start talking about some of the numbers there, mine is a very new product that I'm developing called Messenger Funnels. And basically it's like email funnels, sales funnels, but through Facebook Messenger. And I was doing a test to see if this would even be valuable to people and if it was something I wanted to pursue. So I started the process similar to Mary Lou, and I got down to talking to people face to face and saying, what are you working on? And will this work? And that's exactly what I did. So tell me about your current funnel. What are you doing? How is it working? Where is it going? How many people are on it? And I didn't rapid fire interrogate them. It was a conversation. So what do you think's working? What isn't working? And the people who actually were right for my product were obviously having difficulty with their current situation and saying, it's not working. This is not the way it's working for me. It used to work for me, but it's not working anymore. And the next step after asking that and talking about that was to say, so if I could help you with a new funnel, a new way of getting people into your world and getting them through to find out if they need what you have that has better rates than you're getting currently with email, is that something that you would be interested in? And of course they say yes, because what they're currently working on is not working. And so we go through that back and forth, that communication, that not expectation that I'm going to sell them on something, but getting to know their world, getting to know what it is that they need right now, what is working and what isn't. Because some of what they're working on is working, and I'll be able to transfer that into the new system. But they're not getting the results they want. And that's what they're telling me. If the phone call, one of the conversations I had specifically went into, yeah, it's working great. I've had the best rates ever, all those kinds of things. Well, they don't need what I have. However, I didn't just end the call because, oh, you don't need what I have. Okay, see you later. On to the next person. I still provided value to that person and said, well, gosh, how can I maybe help you with some of the marketing speak that you're using? Some of the, where in it do you feel isn't quite toned up as you'd like? And how can I help you with that? And I gave value to that person and sent them on their way with more and with more value and higher than they came into my world. Does that make sense, Mary Lou? Did I explain that? I don't think I explained it very well.
No, you absolutely did, because what you're getting at is the whole key to being successful in business is leading with value and recognizing that it's okay if, as you go through the conversation, you discover that it's not a good fit, rather than folding and saying, oh, well, thanks for your time, really great catching up, etc. You found a way to continue the conversation by asking more questions and finding out, maybe in an indirect way, there was a point of entry for you to help them with something. Because just because people say everything is great for one thing doesn't mean everything is great for others. And most of us today who are running a business don't have, if you're a service business, let's just say, and I know, Mary Katherine, that your power parents are multifaceted, because that's just the way many of us are today by default.
Right.
So it's really, that's why being very clear about what it is you do offer and developing the skill around having a conversation so that a fish that you've brought into the boat doesn't suddenly wiggle away and you thought, oh man, I could have asked such. Now, there are ways to revisit that in a follow-up a couple of weeks or a month later, but that's a different thing. I think you did a great job at describing that. Again, you go in with no expectations other than to have a really great conversation. That's what I say to myself, is I'm about to have a really great conversation with somebody that I like and care about. That's it.
Right.
And whatever comes from it is whatever comes from it.
Yes. And, one of the things that just hit me, Mary Lou, is that you and I, the reason this is much more comfortable to us is because through this podcast, we have had some pretty amazing conversations. And we have developed that skill of being able to skillfully guide people through a process and communicate with them effectively. And I don't know about you. Well, I know one relationship has led to something beyond the podcast between you and I, but I have had many of those conversations and relationships lead further into either affiliate situations or other kinds of masterminds or mentoring or all kinds of different situations. So we have that skill. And so we can impart that to you if you'd like, but that's where this comes from, just to be able to develop that communication ability. So to keep that going, I basically then talked to them about how I would be able to help the people that I was able to actually satisfy a pain, to get rid of a pain that they clearly had. And in the end of that conversation, specifically directing them to the solution I had to that pain, and specifically organized and related to them, here's what I would do. And so there's the part where you get to talk about what you love and what you do and what you're so good at, in a way that is so exciting because you're filling a need. They've told you specifically, I need this. And you can say, I can help you with that. And so you go through how you do that, what you do. And all through that process, I'm sure you already know this, you get assurances, you get yeses. So does that sound like something you could do? Yes, they say. Great. So then you go to the next thing. So does that sound like something you could do? Yes. And then you end with fantastic. So here is my proposal to you. I say that I can do this service for you in this amount of time and provide exactly what it is you need. And depending on your situation, Mary Lou's and mine are a little bit different, but depending on your situation, you can give them the price or not give them the price. It's up to you based on your product, your specific service. In my situation, I gave them a price and said, this is how much it would cost for me to do this for you. How does that sound? And they gave me a yes. Because I've already brought them through that process. There, it's a no-brainer. It exactly fits and is the exact solution to their current pain. And however, I didn't just leave it there. I said, great, I'll draw up a contract, an agreement, and send it over to you. And we'll talk soon. That's the discovery call. That's the getting to know them that leads to the sale. Now, the sale hasn't actually happened yet. We've just gotten a confirmation that, yes, they want what we have to offer. Yours was a little bit different, right, Mary Lou?
It's pretty close, quite frankly, but I'll reiterate something that you said, which was my biggest mistake. And that is, this process is a skill. It is a series of skills. And I waited too long. I look back at my business and I think, oh my gosh, if I had started this sooner, where would I be? And we all do that. It's not necessarily the greatest mindset to be in, but it's important. I mean, a friend of mine has that funny cliche. There's a reason that the windshield in your car is much bigger than the rear view mirror, because you got to spend more time looking through the windshield versus the little mirror and going, what did I just come from? Yeah. However, the point to reiterate your point about these are skills. They aren't. We're not born with. People say, "Oh, he's a born salesman," or "She's a born saleswoman," or whatever. That's a bunch of bunk. It is a learned set of skills that is essential if a business is going to thrive, if a business is going to be sustainable for the long haul. At some point, if you're a solopreneur and you aren't privy to have a whole team of salespeople that are going out and doing that work for you, this is something you have to do for yourself. In fact, I don't care how big your business becomes. I think every business owner needs to understand how money transfers into their business. How are sales made? Because that's where you learn most about what you're offering, who you are, how you're showing up, and why it matters.
That's right. That is exactly right. And that brings me to my mistake when I was in this process before I actually got on a call with someone, because I had 2 successful calls, and my numbers are pretty incredible to me. 3 people that I actually presented this to, and 2 of them bought. And the third person didn't, because I jumped the gun. So I got so excited and I skipped this exact process. And I went straight for, great, you got to hear about this amazing thing that I'm doing. And immediately the person, because we were just chatting over text, right? We were just chatting over Facebook Messenger. Immediately the person came back with, no thanks. And I'm like, what? She said, well, it sounded like maybe your account got hacked and it wasn't really you, because this wasn't how I know you.
Oh, interesting feedback.
Because I just immediately jumped in because I was so excited and I was on that high from the other 2. Instead of staying with my process and having no expectation, I had an immediate expectation. Oh, she needs it too? Boom, let's just go. No, you can't do that. It's still relationships. So I had to backpedal like crazy and say, I am so sorry. No, this is me. But I just got so excited and just totally jumped the gun and did not see if this is something you needed. And I'm so very, very sorry. And I've backpedaled and continued to give value, because that's my number one thing. I don't want anyone to think that I'm not in this world to give value. So I've sent her cards. And I already know a lot about her. She has a new office she just opened. So I sent her a gift for her office. And I now have to overly go back and repair that relationship. So learn from my mistake. You do not want to jump the gun. You do not want to just sell, which I know everyone in the audience probably will not do. But I got so flippin' excited that I just jumped instead of building my bridge. I just tried to jump the canyon without building the bridge. Okay, so now that's the first call. And yes, we ended it with a yes, right? Both of us ended that call with a yes, that's what I need. Yes, I'm going to buy what you have. And so we both go back to our respective computers, all excited. Yay, very excited that we get to help another person. And we start creating the contract. And we get all the stuff that we talked about because we took notes or we recorded the call or whatever we did so that we got all of our details and ducks in a row and we created our contract or our agreement. Now, here's also a part that people usually miss. I take another step and I don't just send the contract via email, say, great, here's the contract, let's sign it, there we go. Because a couple of days go by and I don't know about you, but usually when I spend any considerable amount of money, I have an immediate buyer's regret. I have an immediate feeling in the pit of my stomach like, oh, boy, am I doing the right thing? Is this really something I should do? I'm not sure. I immediately have that feeling. And so what I do, because I have that feeling, I go back and revisit this person and I ask for a follow-up call. And basically what I do is I say, can we just have one more call? I just have one more question. And I usually leave a question for this call that is not vital to the contract, but it is still information gathering and provides value. Do you do this too, Mary Lou?
Absolutely. I just did this earlier this week. And it's to your point, it's the step that people either aren't aware exists or they just skip it because they want to get going on things. But it's critical because of what you said. When time passes and people start thinking about, you've got to be able to revisit and anchor for them why this makes sense, why this is the right decision for them.
Yes. So that's what I do. And I ask them to just jump on another call. It doesn't have to be a face-to-face Skype or Facebook video. It can just be a quick phone call or any kind of audio call. And that's exactly what I do. I bring them right back. I bring them right back to why they need me, what their time frame is, because most of them have a short time frame, right? They want to get it done now.
Yep.
And why I am the best to deliver exactly what it is they need. And I just reiterate that and thank them for the conversation through that process. Thank you so much for sharing with me the difficulties you were having. I know that's difficult for most of us entrepreneurs to do, to, admit things aren't working. That's not a comfortable place for us. So thank you for sharing that and feeling comfortable enough with me to share it with me. I'm really excited that you want to get this done in blah, blah, blah time frame. And I am really beyond excited to be able to provide the service for you that we talked about. And I reiterate that service. So you're ready to get going, right? And they are just right back in that place. Yes. And I ask the follow-up question that I need, whatever it might be, whether it's their PayPal address, whether it's one of their funnels, another part of their business that they're looking at, or some other course that they're developing, or whatever it is. There's something that I'm interested in that I leave for this call. And I ask them that and bring them right back to that and then say, fantastic, I'm shooting over the contract to you right now. Take a look at it so we can get started as soon as possible. I'll look for your reply no later than tomorrow. So you really want to give them a specific time frame. Within 24 hours, you just brought them back to that feeling and you want them to act now. You don't want them to wait a week because then that buyer's remorse will come back in and they won't be as excited.
No, they won't. And it also speaks to the fact that the urgency isn't there. And this is all about the urgency. And most people, it's like, how much longer are you going to wait to take care of this? And so there are ways through questions and also just reiterating the excitement to get started so that outcome that they're looking for is closer than farther away.
Yes. And one of the questions that I almost always ask, depending on how our conversation goes, is this, and it's a powerful one. What, if anything, would stop you from doing this, from reaching this goal, from using this tool, from getting these conversion rates that you're looking for, from writing this book, whatever that might be, what, if anything, would stop you? And I ask that at the very end of my conversation. They've said yes, 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 yes. Then what, if anything, would stop you? And it's always absolutely nothing. I need this right now. And they say those words. It's their words. They're not just saying yes. It's their words saying, nothing would stop me. I need this now. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's no more confirmation you need than that. And once you do that, you say, fantastic. I can't wait to get started. I'm sending over the contract now. And you do, within an hour, send that contract over, have it all ready and done. And I will expect to hear back from you and be able to set a date to get this thing started. Or if you've already set the date, that's even better. Within 24 hours, by tomorrow.
Yep.
And then it's
Bingo.
done.
That's
it's
right.
Done. They're ready. They are doing it. And that is your golden nugget. Because just as Mary Lou said, she had an 18-month contract that started out with one thing and morphed into so many other things. The same thing with a lot of my business. I start out mentoring with people, and then once I train them on the things they need to do, then they also need someone to implement a lot of those things because they've grown. Their business has grown. So now they need someone to implement them, not just teach them how to do it. So then my contract with them changes and I become their marketing agency. Mm-hmm. It's just, this is our gold mine. These are our relationships. These are the people that refer other people to us because they absolutely love what we have helped them create in their lives. And I hope, Power Parents, through this time we've had, that we've been able to take you through a process where you can go and not have to go follow some shiny new tool to find new sales. You can go into your network. You can go into your world, the people who are already in your orbit, and find those golden nuggets of people that need exactly what you have. All right. Any last thoughts, Mary Lou?
Last thoughts would be, believe in your business. You have something. You started a business for a reason. And again, my guess is that you're really good at whatever it is you do. And if your business is not where it needs to be or where you envisioned it would be, then ask yourself, what could you do using these steps? How could you take these steps that Mary Katherine has shared with you today and change your business? We're just coming to the end of the first quarter of this new year. So there's still 3 quarters to go in 2017. What would your business be like if you could add an extra $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in the next 6 months because you just took this simple process? I mean, it's amazing and it's exciting to think about.
Oh my gosh, yes. And just to get with my statistics, as I mentioned, 3 people that I presented this to, and since then, this is within that week period, 3 people I presented this to, 2 of them bought, and the contract total came to over $5,000. Mm-hmm. And those numbers to me are amazing. And since then, I've taken the next week and tweaked it based on my conversation with Mary Lou now. And I started with her process that she knew very well in the beginning of looking at my network. And the numbers are growing incredibly beyond anything that I've ever even seen. So I love what Mary Lou said when she said that think about your business in the next quarter and by the end of the year. And if you just tap into the network you've already invested in, where will your business be if you bring in that extra $5,000, $10,000, $15,000? And where can you go beyond that to expand your network and meet other people that will also be able to use your services? Wow, Mary Lou, thank you so much. Again, Power Parents, if you want the cheat sheet and more information on this, go to parententrepreneurssuccess.com/PEP164. Thank you, Mary Lou. It's always an amazing pleasure chatting with you.
Yes, I loved it, Mary Katherine. Thank you.
To get powered up for your day, just go to parententrepreneur.power.com and listen to any one of the over 100 episodes we've had so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.